We think of all these great crimes that changed the world, but there's one crime that changed the world that oftentimes we have a tendency to overlook. And it's, the thing about it is, I always should tell Benny, you find simplicity, magnificence, and you find beauty in God's word. And anything you want to know can be found in God's word. You see, we have these great theological questions. Where was the land of Nod? A great theological question. Who did Cain marry? We oftentimes spend time on trying to figure out these complex things and spend all of our time on these theological questions. And people get us embroiled in these theological debates. And God's word is so simple that it's designed to focus on those things that really impact our daily lives. And there's something that impacts our life that oftentimes we're not aware of, and it's this crime. And it's good to talk about who Cain married and where was the land of Nod. All those are great discussions, but the essence of God's word tells us that this particular crime changed the world. This particular crime set in motion a whole series of events that impacts you and me today. And it was in the beginning. I always tell you to fully understand where you are, you got to go to the beginning of the story. Most people want to start in the middle or tell you about the end. As a matter of fact, people get frustrated when you try to go back to the beginning of the story, because the beginning of the story is usually not that sensational. It's usually something simple. And let's just go to Genesis chapter 4. You're going to see how simple God's word is and how complex it is and how revealing it is. See, it's oftentimes where we are that determine if something is complex, simple, or revealing. Remember that. It's where we are that determines if something is simple, complex, or revealing. It's where you are. Now, when we go to God's word in the book of Genesis chapter 4, I want you to see something that oftentimes is overlooked. It says in Genesis 4:1, now Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. So you see there the conception of from a biblical perspective, the first child, Cain. And I've acquired a man from the Lord. Then she bore again, this time, his brother. So now you have two males. Then she bore and called him Abel. Now watch this. Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So they both had vocations. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. And Abel also brought of his firstborn of the flock and thereof their fat. Now watch this. Pay attention to this. Verse number 3. It came in the process of time that Cain brought an offering of fruit of the ground to the Lord. A offering, not his best. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock of their fat to the Lord. One brother came, and he gave what he wanted to give. The other brother came and gave the best of his flock. Now watch this. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering, but he did not respect Cain and his offering, and Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. Now we're just going to stop there for a minute. Now notice what happens. Adam and Eve bore these two sons. The first one Cain, the second one Abel. The first one comes and does what he wants to do. The second one does what God tells him to do. He brings his best to God. And God respects that when we give him our best. But he did not respect what Cain brought. And Cain becomes angry. He becomes jealous. He becomes frustrated. He develops animosity. And I want you to pay attention to these verbs. He developed resentment, animosity, resentment, envy, jealousy, and greed. All those things start to manifest itself in Cain's life, not because of God, but because of Cain. It's the choice that Cain makes that allows him to develop animosity, resentment, anger, jealousy, envy, and all of these things. When you have these things present in your life, they're going to turn to hate. If you allow it to fester in your life over a long enough period of time, it's going to turn to hate, and it's going to manifest in an action that's going to have consequences. You ever found yourself doing something and you say, man, how could I have done that? How could I have done that? That animosity, that jealousy, that greed, that resentment, because of something you did that has nothing to do with anybody else, and then somebody comes and plant a seed, and you react based upon those adverbs.
We want to thank you for being with us today. If this message has been a blessing to you and your family, we encourage you to make a donation to keep this broadcast on air. You can make your donations by going to Bethesda ApostolicHouseOfPrayer.com on our secure website, or Givelify app, where you can make your donation to keep this broadcast on the air. Please remember, your tithes go to your local church, but your offerings can go to where you're being fed. And as we continue on our journey, remember this. 2 Corinthians 5 and 7 tells us that we walk by faith, not by sight. Thank you.
Hi, this is Lady Gwen Jones, and we would like to thank you for watching Bethesda House of Prayer TV. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bethesda House of Prayer TV and follow us on Facebook at Bethesda House of Prayer. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you.